start with, Go ahead. Listen.
One of the most profound things that I've realized from studying finance over the last few years, because I want to become more financially literate,
Mhm.
is that the way that we think about wealth and the way that wealth actually looks, a lot of times is completely different.
What do you mean?
So what I mean is that so we think about wealth as people who have these humongous houses and gets new cars every year and stuff like that, has a new foreign car, and they always doing this and flossing really hard. But a lot of time, most of the people with wealth, they live like normal lives. They might be your neighbor and you might not even know it. Wealth to
Mhm.
them really is the ability to be able to maintain their lifestyle without having to rely on anything else.
Mm.
So a lot of times, like this book that I've been reading is called The Millionaire Next Door, and it's a little bit outdated, and especially it does not take into, especially for our culture, it doesn't take into effect some of the disadvantages that we have just intrinsically in the United States. But
Right.
aside from that, they talk about two groups of people or several groups of people, but the main two that I'm talking about, we talk about the people that are wealthy who actually have savings and money, like an actual net worth, and people who make like 6 and 7 figures, but also spend 6 and 7 figures and don't really save that much.
And then there's me.
So
Who I
like
have student loan debt, so I will have a net worth until I will have 0 net worth until I
so
pay
that's
that.
over. Come on, Joe.
Okay.
So the thing is that a lot of times though they interviewed a bunch of millionaires, and the way that these millionaires are described is they look like everybody else, but they're not wearing the crazy stuff. It's just we see athletes and rappers and stuff like that. They're incredibly wealthy, but like the normal wealthy people, a lot of times they just live a regular life, and
Mhm.
the way that they determine their wealth is more so being able to not have a job and be able to maintain a lifestyle.
Right.
So, like, even when we look at hustlers and we look at the things that they're hustling for in this culture that we have today, a lot of times what seems like it's the thing, it seems like it's one thing. You got to remember that social media and stuff, you're only seeing a part of it. So
Mhm.
we don't even really know what the hustle looks like sometimes. So we're
Right.
disillusioned. So we're chasing something that's not even real.
I think, like, even with the wealth, like, now with the understanding about us, I think it's also a cultural, context that we have to put into play when we talk about how wealth is shown in our community.
Come
Because
on.
we will sometimes even say, "Oh, the gold chains and everything, that's the problem." But we don't understand that there's an actual cultural, context to us wearing gold chains, having gold teeth, like, you can date that back generations. You can date that back to Africa from where we were showy like that. We just got
Yep.
the drip, like, you know, we just saucy all the time. So I don't have a problem with that. But when it comes into excess, when we feel like we have to, like you said before, follow the trend, when we feel like we have to keep up with the Kardashians who wanna paint or put some kind of fur on whatever expensive car they got. Did you see that?
No, I don't
Oh
keep up with
god,
them.
I'll probably plug it somewhere. I don't keep up with them either, but some of these blog sites just share all kinds of stuff, right? But the idea of how wealth looks will be different for everyone. And I do agree, like, some of the most wealthy people you will never know is wealthy.
Never.
Is how we choose to value it and allow it to be seen in our lives. If you're someone who's chasing the attention for the money that you have, then a lot of times that will look like the flashy, the foreign cars, the big house, that will look like the gold chains and everything else. But people who are valuing wealth might not necessarily, who are valuing maintaining their lifestyle, might not necessarily do those same things. With that being said, I think, like we kind of discussed beforehand, wealth looks a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. My wealth will be being the first homeowner in my family, having
Hey.
land, having, the ability to pass that on to my children or my great nieces and nephews or somebody, passing it on to my family. The wealth will look like for me being able to have a life insurance plan so that they can bury me comfortably, and that they can actually have wealth from my death. because a lot of us don't realize for the Black community that that's where wealth is passed down, is through a lot of these other communities leaving something for their generations in their death. For us, it's different. A lot of us have to come up with money to
Mhm.
bury our loved ones. We have to dip into our savings. We have to refinance our houses, or put liens on our property, because we're trying to bury mom, we're trying to bury granddad, we're trying to bury great grandma because she ain't never had no life insurance policy. Wealth looks like being able to pass that down, leave something for your family. I'm already on track for that. Let's, I'm proud of that because that's
Hey,
something that,
you should be proud of it.
listen, when my dad got buried, it was the first time in my life I had seen somebody buried so extravagantly. My dad. So of course we knew he was, it was gonna happen. So he sat with my mom and he planned, and he was like, "Y'all ain't gonna have to worry about nothing." My dad not only got buried in an all black casket, but he got that casket put in like a rose gold, like little container. Like, what are you doing? And then he left money to my mom so that she could be good. You know, that was the first time I had seen that. When my grandmother passed away, it was a very different story. The family was fighting on how to actually take care of those things. We have to be understanding about what wealth looks like for different people. My wealth might be small and insignificant to somebody else who has tens of thousands or millions and has foreign cars and everything else. Not saying that's a problem, but that's just not my truth right now. I'm just trying to get to a level where my family will be good, where they will be taken care of, and they can then go chase those millions. Chasing millions might not be my truth, it might be their truth, and they'll have the good start in line to do that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's beautiful. You made like a lot of good points. Yeah, we definitely with the gold and stuff like that. That's definitely something that comes with the culture, and going from a lot of times you look at athletes, they go from having nothing and struggling to making millions, and you don't
Before they
always you
understand financial literacy.
yeah, and you don't always understand what that is, and you want to floss, and there's nothing wrong with flossing, but you just want to make sure that you floss in a way that you like that. Like, I guess the way that I would say is, like, for a lot of other people, you can look like that, like you have that. You can get a new Benz every year. You can have gold chains and all of this, but if you're not really putting money away, then you're not really wealthy. You're spending a lot because you might be making a lot, but that's not necessarily the wealth.
Yeah.
And it just looks different, and it looks way different than I understood it at first. But when I actually saw wealth, I was like, man, this looks way different than I thought it looked.
And then I also question whether that is a cultural thing too, because who has the most wealth in our country? If it's something that is expected and normalized for a certain sector of people, then when our people get it, then is that something just culturally looking different for us just because we're just seeing the first remnants of what wealth looks like for us? Does that make sense? I don't know if I
No,
said that wrong.
I get what you're saying. I think the two biggest examples that I look at in the black community, two biggest examples I look at is Jay-Z, Sean Carter, and also Chad Ochocinco.
It's the admiration for me.
So Chad Ochocinco, he's known for being very thrifty. So like he would have like big diamonds in his ears, but they wouldn't really be diamonds. He would be like, I got these from $10 from Claire's. And he would take his money instead of spending it on lavish things, he would invest his money. And like he was able to save a lot more because people thought that he would like, like the first time I ever went somewhere and I was like, oh, I spent $200 on this watch, and somebody was like, you stupid because you could have got that watch for $20 over here. I was like, oh, like, that was the first like, that happened to me when I was a youngster, and it was like, that was the
Mhm,
first time I felt stupid for actually paying a lot of money for something.
mhm.
Somebody was like, "You coulda got this for $30 over here." Like, that made me feel stupid. And then I kinda I look at Jay-Z now, and, like, when Jay-Z started out, like, if you look at old pictures of Jay-Z,
The
like, he had these
chains, the
big
big shirt.
chains on and all this stuff, and now, like, he don't do that kinda stuff anymore. He invests in, like, even in his album, and, like, I like listening to him speak, like, I love his music, but, like, when you listen to him, like, really speak about finances and wealth and building up the Black community, he's, like, more intelligent than I think people give him credit for. But, like, now he's talking about, like, he's buying these paintings, and these paintings aren't to
Oh, the
floss, but
Rembrandts and stuff.
these
Mhm.
paintings are actually going up significantly in value over
Yeah.
years. Like so
You got a Picasso in your house. The ATL
so
reference.
but to it's just looking different. Yeah, and I'm happy that a lot more of our people are starting to do that. And there's great examples that have like a Tyler Perry, a Jay-Z, a Rihanna, a Oprah, like all these new black billionaires. Puffy is close, and
Mhm.
Dre was close, but then he got divorced, so I don't know how close he is no more. But to see all these black people get wealth, you know what I mean, and see that as a new example of how to diversify and how to use the thing that really is garnishing and helping them garnish money is the
Yeah.
attention that they get. They take the attention that they get from the things that they're skilled at, and then they invest that attention and use it to advertise the other things that they're invested
But
in.
with that comes time and comfort. And I think about that as, what you said with Jay-Z is like he started off very specific, right?
Yeah.
That, happy to have the money, the I want you to see it. And
Hmm.
also even with Ocho Cinco, you were saying how he didn't invest in like things like jewelry and everything. I wonder if that was just discomfort with financial situation. Like I'm still scared I'm gonna lose it. I think once people get comfortable and understanding how money works and knowing that they can make whatever they have at that moment work for them by investing, when they get comfortable, they realize they don't have to show it off because they're always gonna have it. They realize that with maturity and everything else, that it's okay for them to lay back because it's not going anywhere. And so I think that comes with time as we see more people in our community gain these levels that we've never seen, billionaires and everything else. Like, didn't Rihanna become the first black billionaire? Or not the first, but the one of the rare, she's in the number somewhere up in there.
I think she was the
First female?
first female
Yeah,
musician billionaire.
billionaire.
Yes.
As we see more of that, I think we'll see a different array of how people um no, show they have money. And it's okay to like show it off. I don't have a problem with that. I just feel like a lot of us do that too soon.
Yeah,
We do it
I
a
just
little bit too soon.
I think the problem that the thing that I never wanted to do was be more worried about looking wealthy than actually building wealth.
Being wealthy, yes. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't want to be so concerned with it, like either look like I'm hustling and actually spending the time to do what I need to build my business.
I agree. Um, I'd much rather be behind the scenes, collect my check, and be out the way. Now, granted, I do want LBF to like get to a place where it is a national podcast, and that's something I'm working towards. Clearly, because I'm going live every week, which is not something I would choose if it was not in the pursuit
So
of
proud of you.
uplifting LBF. Thank you. But we all have to do certain things to get to where we want to get to. I just try to keep in the forefront of my mind the purpose and if it is aligned with my mental health, my wellness, and everything else, including money. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is a nice little mini part two.
Just like a random thought I would add that in there.
No, I love it because now I can use a lot of this for the clips instead of going through that long episode and trying to find clips like I
No,
used
I
to.
mean it's just like you can stop now. I'm done. But like that, it's just important that a lot of times we see things and we think that that's what it is, but until we actually study and really understand what it is, it's
Mhm.
the things that we're chasing don't always look like. It goes back to like me chasing certain things, thinking that oh that is this, and then I get to that, and it's like ooh this ain't this.
This ain't what I thought it
I
was
thought
gonna
it was
be.
that, but it's not it.
Mhm. Isn't all that great?
No.
This